This program improves your cue action, potting and break building, and it's designed for everybody from complete novices to advanced players. All routines are simple to set up, each one benefiting a slightly different element of your game. You can get the Snooker practice program on your phone for the low price of absolutely nothing. It'll even keep a running total of your scores. It's split into 3 sections: basic routines, potting routines and advanced routines, and I'm going to explain in this video how to get the most out of each one. You can choose which routine you want to practice or run through the entire basic program, where you're allowed a maximum of 5 attempts at each routine to set the highest possible score. Black spot practice. And we're starting off with something simple but important: consecutive blacks off the black spot. So the idea is you pot the black, you take it out of the pocket, put it back on the spot and play the next shot from wherever the cue ball ends up. And you keep going until you miss. The black is worth 1 point every time you pot it, so however many blacks you've potted, that's your final score. 7-ball lineup. Here we have a line of balls and you need to clear them from lowest value all the way to highest. The red starts on the blue spot, the blue starts on the pink spot and the black starts on its spot. As you notice, the gaps between the balls get slightly wider and it's 1 point for every single ball you pot. Blue, 4 reds. From this position, you need to clear the table with just reds and blues, and it's good practice of cue ball control. The blue easily goes through the reds into the middle pocket, but you have to be a little bit more careful with the cue ball. Your total score is whatever break you manage to get at the end of this. Alternative pink. This is exactly the same as blacks from earlier, except this time it's pinks off the pink spot. You score 1 each time, and every time you play a shot, the pink is respotted. Except this time, because the pink has more options in terms of where you can pot it, you're not allowed to play it twice in a row into the same pocket. So you have to keep moving the cue ball around for position. Arc corners. This may look easy because all the balls are over the pockets, but I promise you it isn't, because you're not allowed to knock into another ball like that. There you'd have to start again. You have to pot red followed by colour, and every time you pot a colour it's respotted in the same place it starts in. Once you've potted all the reds, you can then attempt to try and make the colour clearance from yellow all the way through to black. This is a good challenge, this one. As I said, not as straightforward as it looks. Bulk. Here we're going to see how many bulk colours you can pot consecutively. The only rule being you're not allowed to play the same colour twice in a row. Each colour, once again, is worth 1 point towards your total. You're just seeing, again, how many balls you can pot, and your score will be determined by how many balls you've potted before you miss. Mini pink tea. The question with this one is, can you pot these 3 reds followed by pinks from what is all in all a slightly awkward position where you need good control of the cue ball at every stage to allow you to get from the pink to the next red and from the red back to the pink again. Basic lineup. Line up the balls down the middle of the table and pot them in any order. There's 21 possible to get, as each ball is once again only worth 1 point, and as soon as you miss, your break ends and that's your final score. 10 reds and blue. Here you need to pot 2 lines of reds followed by blues, and you have to be really careful you're controlling the cue ball, because you're not allowed to knock into another ball when you play any of these shots. If you do, you have to start again. Pockets covered. This is a fun one because with the balls over the pockets it's relatively straightforward, although the question is which colours do you want to pot, because every time you pot a colour it gets respotted, and when you go to make the clearance at the end you might want to strategically have the correct colours on the spots to make it easier to get that clearance right. On to the potting routines. Here you play the same shot 12 times, usually from opposite sides of the table. Blue follow through. potting the blue off the spot and trying to run the cue ball into the same pocket. This shows you if you're cueing straight or possibly not. The idea is to play 6 in each side alternatively, and you get 1 point for potting the blue and 2 points for potting both the blue and the cue ball. Middle D shot. I get asked a lot about how you practice potting into the middle pockets, and this is both a good way of doing that and controlling the speed of a stun shot, because if you hit it too hard, the ball's just going to jump out of the pocket. Ideally, you want to be playing 6 of these into each pocket, and for every one that goes in and the white stays in the D, you get a point. Pink spot cut. This one has a ball on the pink spot and the cue ball in the D, because the majority of shots you play aren't straight, and you have to be able to find the correct angle consistently well. Once again, you want to try 6 of these into each side, and for every single one that goes in, you get a point. Straight cueing. This is similar to the blue we played earlier, where you've got to try and pot it and run through and off, except this time there's a lot more distance involved, because you start from behind the bulk line or the pink spot, and you've got to try and run through and off the length of the table, so you need to be a lot more accurate. Once again though, it's 1 point for potting the object ball and 2 points if you make the cue ball following it on off behind. Not quite. And once again, you want to be trying about 12 of these. Cushion shots. This is the best practice I've ever found for cushion shots, and yes, it's technically the same thing again. This time it's a black off the spot, but with the cue ball tight against the side cushion, and you have to pot the black and try and run through in off after it. Again, you want to try 6 times into each side, and it's 1 point for potting the black, and 2 if you manage to get the cue ball to follow through and off, like that. Accurate pots. This is practice for slightly firm shots where the object ball is just off the cushion. You need to put it about a ball length from the cushion, and the cue ball is not allowed to be 2 ball lengths up from the object ball, so you've got to play it fairly firm, and the cue ball must be back behind the line of the yellow spot coming down the table. The idea is you pot the object ball and try and get the cue ball to come top side of the black spot. For every time you pot the object ball and get the cue ball top side of the black spot, you'll get a point, and once again you want to try this 6 times into either pocket. Straight pots. We're doing straight long pots now by setting up the object ball roughly on the bulk line and the cue ball near the pink spot. And then when we pot it, what we can then do is take the object ball from down this end and place it in line with the pink spot, and then we can attempt the same shot back the other way. And therefore we don't have to move so far, and the object ball and the cue ball are already in the right place when we get to the other end of the table. You might need to move the cue ball a little bit to get the shot lined up right. And once again, you want to try 6 from each end of the table for 12 in total. Before the next set of routines, we're just going to find Joseph from Bridgewater, Nova Scotia, which is there. Again, with the advanced routine, you get a maximum of 5 attempts to set your highest possible score. Encircled pink. Here you need to clear the table with reds and pinks. The pink should go into every single pocket, so the real challenge is control of the cue ball, especially as this is another one where you're not allowed to knock into or cannon any other ball, so white needs to be in the right place every single time. Under the black. This is one where you not only respot the black, but you also respot the red into exactly the same position each time, as it's a way of practicing getting high enough on the black to keep playing down low for the red, and is a good way to get good control of the cue ball in and around this area and practice potting that tough red that's quite close to the cushion. Colour clearance reversing. It's good to practice the colours, but this is just a better way of doing it, where every pot is worth 1 point, and when you make it to and have potted the pink, you then respot everything, and then play from exactly the same position you left off on your previous shot on the black and trying this time get back up the table all the way from black in the reverse order through the colours to yellow. And this time, once you potted the green, you respot everything again so you can play the yellow and keep going. Line up. Line up all 15 reds with the colours on their spots and see what the highest break is you can possibly make. It doesn't matter where you line up the reds as long as they're in line with the spots somewhere. They can be anywhere in between the top cushion and the bulk cushion, just wherever you think is best for making the highest possible break. The angle. Here you must put all the balls into the same pocket and make it round the angle, which means potting the balls in order of lowest to highest. Each shot must go, as I already said, into the same pocket, and you're not allowed to knock into another ball while you do it. It may look simple, but it's incredibly tough. 1 point for each ball again here. Yellow or green to pink. As you may have guessed, this one only has the yellow, green and pink, and you have to first pot the yellow or the green and then follow it up by the pink and then go back to the yellow and green again and then to the pink and then to the yellow and green. You get the idea. Each time you pot a ball, it's worth a point, and you've got to see how many points you can score before you miss. Z black. The 8 reds here are in a Z position, so only one of them pots at a time, and this means you have to get the right angle from the black to get back on a red to allow you to get back down on the black again. That's crucial because you're not allowed to knock into or cannon the reds at any stage here, and avoiding that is your main goal all the way through the break. The T. From this simple T position, you just need to score the highest break possible. The only real rule with this is you're not allowed to cannon into any of the reds at any stage. But if you do cannon into a colour, that doesn't matter really. It's all about keeping the reds in the same position and manoeuvring your cue ball around them to stay in the right place. Hard black. Remember the black from the basic routines earlier where you essentially had to pot as many as you could? Well, this is the same thing, except it's harder. The reds are blocking the jaws of the pocket, so you can only pot it clean. But you just be a little bit careful with this one. You don't block off too much of the pocket. You need to be able to see enough of it to pot it clean every time. But if the black comes into contact with the reds, even if it still goes in, the break is over. The Y. Having the reds in these positions is a good simulation of where they can end up when they're broken out of the triangle. Once again, you just got to get the highest break possible, and you're not allowed to cannon into any of the reds, although once again you can cannon into whichever colour you like if that ends up happening. To get your own copy of the Snooker practice program, simply click the link in the description, which will take you to Google Sheets and ask you if you want to make a copy. You'll say yes, and this will open up all 27 routines, and it'll show you exactly what you need to do. And if you want to see more videos about the snooker technique, these two will do just that. And remember, don't just watch, play, and make the commitment to becoming a better player by subscribing to the channel and visit the website. See you later. Stop recording.